Welcome to NSK News.
During tonight's show, we will be sharing the results of the famous Tundra creature experiment.
Stay tuned to hear the exclusive backstory about the Tundra.
As you can see, we are not in the tundra. This is obvious because the tundra's climate is very cold and definitely not pool weather. As you can see in the climatogram, rainfall is not common in the tundra, but extremely cold temperatures are.
The permanent top layer of permafrost and the short growing season of only 6 weeks in the tundra work together to make life hard for the indigenous plants to survive and thrive. In order to adjust to this, the plants have slowly adapted to be hardy enough to withstand the permafrost and also have a longer lifespan so they continue to grow over many growing seasons to reach its full size.
Like plants, animals have a hard time adjusting to these harsh conditions as well. Adaptations include having a larger surface area to volume ratio in order to reduce the rate of heat loss. They can use their environment by making nests out of mud, leaves, or even scavenged materials. Examples of animals found in the tundra include whales, seals, various fish species, wolves, bears, caribou, reindeer, and a motley of birds.
Adaptations like fat, fur, and feathers are tested in the tundra experiment. The goal was to find out which of the methods is the best insulator to keep warm.
It looks like the results have come in.
This just in. We have the results. Independent variables in the experiment include the different materials used, which are fat, feathers, and fur. Dependent variables are the temperature of the tundra creature over the trial time. Starting at 34.8 degrees Celsius, the fat ends the 30-minute trial at 23 degrees. The high temperature was 36.6 degrees, and it hit its low temperature at the end with 23 degrees. It dropped a total of 11.8 degrees through the experiment with an average temperature of about 30 degrees.
The fur began with almost 50 degrees Celsius and finishes with 27.1 degrees. Its high temperature was 50.4 degrees and lowest was 27.1 degrees. Through the experiment, it dropped a total of 22.9 degrees with a mean temperature of about 38 degrees. The final contender, feathers, started with the highest temperature of 56 degrees Celsius. Its temperature was 57.6 degrees and its high temperature was 57.6 degrees and its low was 38.2 degrees. The average temperature of the feathered tundra creature was about 48 degrees and the total change in temperature was 19.4 degrees Celsius. We will show you two graphs that display this information.
The scatter plot graph shown indicates all of the recorded temperatures of the materials through the experiment, including a trend line with the labeled slope of each. This bar graph shows and compares the average, maximum, minimum, and slopes of all the materials of the experiment. Now to compare the results with shama.
What a beautiful report on the findings. Natural-born TV stars, if you asked me. Now, Shama, as a well-known scientist, what are your thoughts on this experiment?
Well, Nicole, the clear objective of this experiment was to find out which of the substances was the best insulator. So naturally, we should calculate the amount of heat loss through this experiment.
For all the people at home, could you explain how one could do that?
It is actually fairly easy. You only need to know 3 numbers and multiply them together. The numbers multiplied are the mass of the water used in the tundra creature, 14 grams, the specific heat of water, 4.179, and the change in temperature, or slope of each of the substances, throughout the experiment. For fat, the amount of heat loss was calculated with 14 grams times 4.179 times 0.4813, and around 28.158 should be the result. Because of the other substances having a larger slope than fat, we already know that their amount of heat loss will be larger. Therefore, make them not as good insulators. The feathers have a slope of 0.7035, so it has a heat loss of about 47.4 degrees Celsius. The fur has a higher slope of 0.8392 and a heat loss of around 49, meaning it comes in last place.
So, just to recap, fat won with the lowest loss of heat, feathers came in second, and fur came in last. Is there any other way that this data can be compared?
One could compare the starting times. Fat began at the lowest temperature of 34.8, which was 15 degrees lower than the fur, and 21.2 degrees than the feathers.
How strange. Now we will further explain these and other problems with Kenzie. Thank you for being here and with us tonight, and we will go on.
Thank you.
All of this information has been very interesting. We have Kenzie here, straight from Period 1, Pre-AP Bio class, to give us some insight on the potential issues found in this experiment. Now, How reliable is this data?
Well, to start off, the substances that were used to insulate the water were not heated up to the temperature of the water, like an actual tundra creature would be. This shown in the beginning of the experiment when each of the substances' temperatures increase before it begins to decrease.
How might this affect the rest of the data collected?
Because they did not start off at the same temperature, there was no certain way to compare their decrease in temperature. Also, the fat tundra creature was surrounded by 2 plastic bags, which are insulators themselves, so that might have changed the result. Because animals might have more than one of the substances, like polar bears have fur and fat, then just measuring them separate might not show the true effects of the insulation of the animal, or how well it survives. Other ideas for future experiments include using 2 different tundra creatures, one with fur and fat and the other with feathers and fat, to truly compare the insulators. One may even want to take it further with a new group that tests the insulation of skin by putting the skin over the fat.
Wow, this has been really insightful. Thank you, Kenzie, and thank you for watching. Tune in tomorrow for another episode of NSK News.